We'll be joined by Titans outside linebacker Ola Adeni at 7:15, so looking forward to that. The choice is yours at 7:45, and then Casey Alexander, Belmont men's basketball coach, joining us at 8:30. Some news yesterday on the Belmont front, so lots to get into today, including some comments from Philip Forsberg yesterday at Preds training camp.
Yes.
We're a multifaceted show today, Rexrode.
That's right. We got a little hoops today, to your dismay.
Love me some hoops. Got a basketball hat on as we speak.
That's right, but it's an NBA hat.
It is.
Yeah, got some hockey, got some Titans, got some Vanderbilt. Yeah, you can't really. We were just talking about this before the show. Can't get too much different in film for a coaching staff. I can't imagine than to go from looking at Georgia last week, like watching Friday the 13th Part 3,
yeah,
and then this week you're looking at UConn.
That's quite a difference.
Now, I'm sure nobody in the building's laughing as they watch the UConn film, but they still got to be like, okay, all right, this seems much better.
Much different film session than what they saw a week ago. I don't think there's any question about that.
Got a shot here.
Yeah, I would say so. Joe, some interesting comments yesterday with the Titans. Obviously, the players having the day off yesterday. They'll be back at it today out there at Titans practice as they prepare for the Jets. But some interesting comments made yesterday, especially at the wide receiver position, and in particular with Josh Reynolds being inactive. That's something that you've been very curious about this week so far. As Sunday rolls around, Josh Reynolds is not active. He was not on the injury report last week, and that was brought up yesterday. What did we learn yesterday about Josh Reynolds and him being a healthy scratch last week?
Well, first I should apologize. At some point when they do these assistant interviews, like I could, get audio and then bring it to the show. I don't, so I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But still it's writer brain. But yeah, we got all the offensive assistants yesterday. So Rob Moore, receivers coach, had a couple interesting things. One, he indicated there's at least an expectation this week that the Titans will get Marcus Johnson. Now, again, that being designated to return does not necessarily mean he's back.
Right.
But if that happens, that would still be significant. And then, you would think it wouldn't be too long before they get Marcus Johnson, who, again, to review, although Chester Rogers also was very good in camp, I think Marcus Johnson was absolutely the best receiver who participated throughout camp. Exclude A.J. Brown, exclude Julio. Marcus Johnson, to me, is a guy who, if he gets back to that level he was playing at, he's going to make plays for the Titans this year. I mean, look, we just saw the receiving corps Sunday, and they reach deep. But Marcus Johnson would help a lot. But, yeah, the Josh Reynolds conversation from Rob Moore is basically, he was asked, why he didn't play. Or, again, the same thing that Vrabel was asked when Vrabel said he was inactive.
Yeah.
But Rob Moore said, look, basically, special teams is going to – I can find the exact quote. But basically, because he doesn't contribute on special teams, that's why he said, for guys on the fringe, a lot of times that makes the difference. I would still ask, why is he on the fringe? I mean, when they signed him, they knew, I'm sure, that he wasn't going to be a special teams guy. And, yes, got into this a little bit yesterday. Yes, this was before, of course, they before they traded for Julio Jones.
Correct.
So that, that knocked him down a peg, but I wouldn't have expected him to be lower than, like a Batson, a Racey McMath on a game day. Again, special teams, so that makes sense, but it's still, I guess it's one of two things with Josh Reynolds. One, again, the injury has diminished him at this point, whether he doesn't still technically have an injury, but, it's affecting him, or he's just not as good as they thought.
Either one's not good news.
Or, or A leads to B, I guess. But, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I wouldn't count him out still. I mean, it's good to probably have him on the roster as a guy who could come in and at some point be a factor, but it is surprising.
It's surprising because if you would have told me before the season that not. But for that to be a reason that he's inactive tells me that either, like you said, either the injuries that he sustained are really having an effect on him, which is, again, that shows you how quick things can turn in this league, because he's played in up until this year, had played in every single game since he's been drafted. Or they've watched him play and they say, I don't know, we've got some better options than Josh Reynolds.
Well, another thing about Josh Reynolds, which I didn't even really realize until he got here, but it's very obvious if you get near him, is he is very skinny. I mean, he doesn't really fit the profile of like a receiver who's going to be a super effective blocker. I mean, anybody can be if they just want to
get in the way.
Yeah, want to throw themselves in there and occupy who they're supposed to occupy. But
I mean, Tebow tried.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that would be maybe another thing that is counting against him. But then also that I would say, okay, then why? I guess why were you interested in him?
Yeah.
But it's hard to ask the question, which I posed yesterday on Twitter, it makes me wonder why they signed him. It is hard to pose that question without knowing the extent of the physical situation. I mean, that's the thing. And as we know, with another guy in that room, you don't have to have an injury designation to have something wrong or something that keeps you off the field. But the room is it's very interesting. There's a lot of guys. I think Marcus Johnson coming back, well, first of all, that's going to push Reynolds down more, right? I mean, if they ever get everybody all back and good, I mean, Reynolds is a long way from the field.
Yeah.
Clearly. But Marcus Johnson has kind of replaced him as, to me, the bigger receiver with the speed to make a defense pay vertically and be another threat out there along with the big two and Derrick Henry.
Well, I remember, when Josh Reynolds signed the contract with the Titans, he's basically making a little bit over $1 million this year, and I thought to myself, man, that could end up being quite the steal for the Titans here. And maybe if you're Josh Reynolds, you're wanting to come in, get a bigger role, maybe bet on yourself a little bit, and it looks like that may not be a bet that turns out very well for Josh Reynolds at this point.
Right, 1.75. So 1 year, 1.75 million. And it's guaranteed. So, but that's not like if it ends up that he just doesn't do much at all this year. That's not a killer, investment. But I agree.
More so from his perspective.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's exactly that's how I looked at it. Like, okay, he's gonna with the Rams. They've got Kupp and they've got Woods and Higbee, and maybe go to a place where they don't have a bunch of great receivers. And hey,
Julio Jones,
welcome to Nashville.
Look at there.
But again.